Hi, welcome to this episode of Founder's Journey. Today I have Beau Bratton on the show. How are you, Beau?
Hello, Jeff. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh man, 6 years of friendship knowing you, one of the most innovative guy in the insurance CRM space, or maybe the CRM space in general. Now
Right.
we get to record for this episode. I'm excited.
Me too.
I'm gonna put the mic on you and tell our audience who you are, what did you do, and how did you launch your company?
Okay. Where do I start? Who am I? I grew up in California, so I'm actually one of the few people in California that is born in California, and I grew up in Santa Barbara, small little town on the ocean, and lived a nice beach life there, and had a famous dad later in life. He actually became famous. He was semi-famous when I was young, but nobody would have known. He was in a band called the Grassroots back in the 60s. But then he got on the show The Office. So my dad's Creed Bratton from The Office, which is just crazy. My dad was 59 years old when he made it onto that show, which obviously is just massive worldwide phenomenon. And still to this day, I think they just came out with a VR version of The Office where you can go into the office and play around inside of like a virtual version of the office from the show. Grew up in Santa Barbara. I never even graduated college. I dropped out of high school. I was not interested in school much. I did a little bit of college. I tested out of high school. So I am not your quintessential Ivy League guy that has this great pedigree. I'm a high school dropout, to be really honest about it all. I used to play pool at the billiard hall. I'd cut class when I was 17 years old and go to the pool hall, and I got pretty good at billiards. I was playing golf as well on the golf team, so I had a very all around the place type of interests, from chess to billiards to golf to and I got into martial arts as well. I got into capoeira. I got into later on. I got into jujitsu. I'm doing capoeira again, which is an amazing. I think capoeira is the by far the hardest martial art in the world, and it's the most complex. I like complex things, and capoeira involves music, so you have to learn how to play five or six different musical instruments. Language, you have to learn how. You don't have to learn how to speak Portuguese, but you have to learn how to sing songs in Portuguese. It's got crazy acrobatics, all sorts of kicks, flips, spins, and it's got rules, and it's got the most incredible energy. If you ever go to a batizado, which is like a graduation party for getting your cords, hundreds of people all clapping and playing. So it's like going to a concert and being part of the concert. It's just an incredible martial art. Anybody that's never heard of capoeira should check it out. It's great for kids. There's a lot of classes for kids, and it's great at building their confidence, their flexibility, and I highly recommend capoeira. So anyways, all over the place in my interests and upbringing, but I was always into sales. And I started when I was real young, 17, doing telemarketing. Instead of learning through the traditional schools, I learned through the School of Hard Knocks and working inside of businesses from a very young age, and progressed in my sales career. And I finally got into some tech startups. I worked at realtor.com actually at one point in my life, and I sold advertising there. And there was over 100 of us salespeople. It was a great time, a lot of camaraderie, really fun time in my life. I was living out in Westlake Village in California. And then I joined a startup called LeadPoint, which was an online lead exchange marketplace, like a NASDAQ for internet leads. And it opened my eyes to the startup world. And these guys were really, really smart. They were automating things. They were tracking analytics like crazy. And I saw the level of acumen that business people can have, and really what it takes to build a successful startup. And I got the startup bug. Shortly after that, my dad made it on The Office. I'd saved up some money. I finally started my business, my first business. I like to call it the pregnancy gene, which is I wanted to create something unique from myself. And it was really important to me. God bless all of the lawyers and doctors and accountants out there, but I didn't want to do something that anyone else had done before. I wanted to create something that was unique and that was like an invention. My grandfather had invented things, and I'm like, I started off doing affiliate marketing, and that's what I was trying to do. and selling, colon cleanse and acai pills. And that was not for me. It was just, I felt like, yeah, I'm sure it helps a few people, but ultimately it's mostly a money game. And I wanted to not only create something, invent something, but something that had value that would help the world be a better place. Now, whether phone automation helps the world be a better place or not, it's definitely a more efficient place. It definitely helps out a lot of insurance agents out there. And, I'm going to cut out a lot of stuff, but ultimately, that was the eventual creation of Speed to Contact, or Ricochet 360 now, which is our all-in-one CRM dialer marketing automation platform. I call it a sales automation platform, right? So it just does everything you need to be successful. And we've had a lot of success in the insurance space, in the solar space, in the mortgage space, but a lot in insurance. It's a heavy part of our marketplace. And yeah, what was the second part?
All right. By the way, I just want to pause for a second and go back. I love the name. It's one of my favorite name of CRM that's out there. What was the thought process going to coming up with the name?
Great question, Jeff. So the original name Speed to Contact was when I worked at LeadPoint, I noticed that it was really, really important for mortgage companies in particular to call their internet leads quickly. So back then and still today, and maybe not for so much longer, internet leads are sold on a shared basis primarily. You can buy them exclusive, but there's a saying, there's no such thing as an exclusive lead. Which is kind of true. But they're sold for all of those that are watching that don't know. If you're buying an internet lead, it's typically sold 2 to 3.5 times, very rarely all 4 times. And that means if you're a consumer and you fill out a form for a mortgage or an insurance quote or whatever, there's 3 or 4 companies that gets that data, and they're all in a race to contact the data. The first person to call statistically has a higher percentage chance of closing the deal. And so it wasn't lost on me how important it was to call internet leads quickly. So Speed to Contact was, I built this technology that would, the initial technology would call people on just a phone line, call 10 people on what we call a hunt group. Whoever picks up first presses 1. There was no interface at all. It was just behind the scenes, phones would ring, and it would try to automate the connections for people. And so the idea was Speed to Contact on internet leads, the speed at which you can contact an internet lead. Ricochet 360, now that's the interesting part of the story. I was trying to be the Intel inside of all of the mortgage companies back then. So I wanted to provide our technology and embedded into, at the time, there was well, I'm not going to name names, but I'll name some of the common ones, like Velocify back then, right? Velocify, Salesforce, whatever. We wanted to embed our technology into all of them. And so leaving out the basic, I'm going to try to tread lightly here, but all of them screwed us over. Okay, I'm just going to say, I'm not saying any names. I'm not saying Velocify in particular was, but all of them, all of the companies, basically, it wasn't complex technology. They built it out on their own. And I probably would have done the same thing myself, although I'm a little more ethical than that. But they all were like, whatever, Speed to Contact, we're going to do our own thing. And I remember I had a call with a guy one day, and he's like, Beau, your technology is really cool, but why would I use you when I get a CRM and all this other stuff for about the same, for a little bit more? And he made a good point. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go out of business pretty soon. So I decided, well, there's no ethics in this business. I mean, it blew my mind. Literally, all of them copied us and cut us out of the picture. And I felt like I felt a little betrayed. And I'm being honest here. I did feel a little betrayed. So Ricochet 360 was the name is that, someone shoots a bullet at you and it ricochets 360 back. So Ricochet 360 was my creation of the next generation technology that would be better than all the other stuff out there. 2 can play at this game. Okay, if you're not going to follow our partnership, then I'm going to build a better system, because otherwise, I got to survive. I got a family to feed at the time. This is a long time ago, right? But so that was the reason for the name Ricochet 360. It sounded cool, but it also had a deeper meaning for me, which is that, sometimes in life you bounce back. My dad has a song called Bounce Back too. You guys should check out Beau Bratton music on Spotify. But it's a song called Bounce Back, which is his story too. Of it also has to do with, the butterfly coming out of the cocoon, right? It's the rebirth of your business life. And I was suffering and I didn't create a great business that was performing. And so here was my next skin, if you will. And that's Ricochet 360.
That's a fantastic story. I can definitely personally relate. You know my story, so you know I can relate to it. So keep on going. Now that you launched the new company and it's a CRM, it's a calling system, how many seats did you have in the beginning? I mean,
Not many, not many. I mean, when we launched Ricochet 360,
yeah. How big was your team? Thank you for all your support to our channel. Here is a quick word from our sponsor. Please click on the link below in the comment section to sign up for a demo with Track AI.
What if your insurance sales conversations could work harder for you? Meet Track, your AI-powered conversation intelligence partner. Track automatically captures and analyzes every customer interaction, providing instant call summaries, risk analysis, and AI-driven coaching insights. Say goodbye to manual note-taking and hello to more selling time. Track handles the admin work while you handle the revenue. Fully integrated with your favorite platforms. Plus, get custom AI analysis tailored to your unique business needs. Transform your sales team's performance with Track. Visit track.ai today.
Click the link in the description below to schedule a demo with Track today.
Super small, man. It was nothing. It was always bootstrapped, right? So again, I did not come with a silver spoon at all, even though my dad is on The Office now. He was a rock and roller. He was a starving artist, and my mom was a single mother. So when I did start the business, my dad was able to invest a very little at the time, and I didn't need much, and I just bootstrapped it all the way. So we were just a couple hundred users probably for a while. You know, I paid myself $50,000 for the first few years, and that was tough because I was making, you know, six figures doing sales before that, but a long time ago. You know, now it's been 13 years or so, roughly.
It's an amazing story. When did you guys first reach 1,000 seats? What year into the company?
So I did tell you, right, that I never graduated from high school, right?
No, I never knew that story.
Yeah, no, well, no, it's a joke because but the truth is I'm really bad with timelines, and I don't know exactly when we hit 1,000 seats.
Were there any celebration internally?
You know, I around 2018 is when we decided to build out all these KPIs, and we got an investment, and we really started to track and I was a very organic person. I was not I was not a disciplined person with a business plan. I didn't even have a business plan when I started. Okay. So I am not your typical, okay, I've got it just like this is exactly what I'm going to do. I was 6 months into doing my business when I completely decided to do something different. And then I changed it all again. So I organically find what I want to do, what feels good to me. And it's not always about, obviously, if you're making a boatload of money, then you keep doing that. But it's a lot of feel. And I would say that's not what I would recommend, but it is my process. And now we know exactly, you know, where we're at. I do have multiple.
Where are you guys at
Well,
now?
that's confidential, but we're doing really, really well. I can tell you that much. Yeah.
How many verticals are you guys in?
We're in a lot of verticals because Ricochet is built to be a really just for customizable for any industry. There are certain industries where it doesn't lend itself that great. And but you know, solar, mortgage, debt, insurance. I'd say there's 5 core industries that we're in, but we've got 10, 15, 20 different types of industries probably or more that people have accounts with on our platform. We are working on a new mobile app that will be much more beneficial for, like, you know, automotive and real estate businesses, because they're always out in the field. They really need something on an iPad or a phone.
Yeah.
And getting the telephony right on that has, you know, it hasn't been a big focus of ours until now. So in about 5 months or so, we're going to come out with a brand new mobile platform, which should be pretty exciting. Will get us
5 months from now?
Yeah, roughly.
October 25th, 2024, 12:46 p.m.
Let's do another podcast on that day, and we can talk about it, the launch.
Talk about your grand release, iOS and Android.
Yeah.
So what else is coming out?
Well, yeah, when is this thing going to air again?
Probably in a month and a half from now. So
Okay, good.
it's the
Yeah.
time.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're not involved in AI, then you are behind you're not behind the wheel. You're behind the trends. It's so easy to make a humongous impact by utilizing the power of artificial intelligence these days. So all of my businesses, and I do have others as well, are AI switching to AI focused or completely AI focused.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so Ricochet is ready to launch our new AI technologies, which are still top secret, but I can tell you that they will be involved with training, they'll be involved with note taking, and it will be and some other really interesting applications. So we are about ready to launch that, but we're holding off for a little bit longer. Probably beginning of next year, we'll start to release that.
You have competitors on the marketplace, which I'm sure you do know.
Yes, yes, but do they have a CRM and a dialer and marketing automation and 1,000 settings integrated with all of that? That's the big question, you know what I mean? And I think that's the big difference. And it's just the way that and I don't want to toot my own horn, but the way that Ricochet works is different, right? It's extremely
Mhm.
efficient. That's why for example, the majority of the best performing insurance agencies out there are on Ricochet already. And you can ask anybody, they're on Ricochet, and that's because you can make twice the phone calls as you can elsewhere because of the efficiency that we provide. So
Yeah. Been a user many years myself, so I agree with that.
I do have another company that we just launched, and that's called Jarvee, and I got some great partners there with Tom Bianco and David Williams, and that is an HR recruiting and training platform using AI. And it's a really neat thing about that is, what I like to joke that I'm extremely lazy, and that's why I like to build software that does everything for me or for our clients. So if you think about Ricochet, it's the least amount of friction for the maximum amount of output. And that's kind of the mantra for what I believe is the nirvana of software development these days, and really applications, what it needs to be. People are busy. They don't want to have to do a lot of administration, and they want to turn things onto autopilot. So Jarvee will allow you to create, for example, a job description using AI, automatically distribute it out to the big platforms, your Indeeds and Monsters and LinkedIn's of the world. And it'll automatically build the interview questions. It has AI avatars that it automatically builds. So in 5 minutes, you can create let's say like a job for an insurance sales associate, have it already posted on all the big platforms. You didn't have to write it. You just make some small edits to it. And then it automatically will conduct the interviews using AI. It will analyze the interviews, what they said, and ultimately score them. So imagine, especially, this on a small scale, you can see it, but on a large scale is where it really makes a huge difference. My sister-in-law, who's in Brazil, was working for Mercado Libre and Unilever and all these large companies. And I believe it was Mercado Libre. One of them had to hire 10,000 employees in 1 year. And so you can imagine the amount of CVs, resumes, interviews that you got to conduct in order to do that. Well, with Jarvee, you would be able to cut out half of that effort because it will basically get you the cream of the crop. And you would just you would basically, let's say we can say that, okay, if you score over 70 or higher on your interview, then we want to do a one-on-one interview with you. Jarvee will automate that entire process, and you'll just have people showing up on your Zoom meeting one-on-one that are the cream of the crop. And all the rest could say, hey, try another opportunity with us, and that's all automated. So again, 5 minutes of work, and the end result is and then it does all the training. So it builds all your training content with AI avatars if you don't want to record your own content. And very little effort, huge amount of impact. That's what we're trying to do in the businesses that I create. And I've got one other business, which is also, it's more boring, but it's in the AI world. and it's for, tax related. I'll just leave it at that. And that's not launched yet, so I can't really talk about that yet.
Can we get a little tease about it?
It's going to automate tax savings for businesses nationwide. Let's just put it that way, using AI.
Like QSBS, R&D tax credit, QOZ, QOF.
Somewhere in that, yeah, one of those.
Okay. Got it. There's a couple of other ones out there, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I've got some great partners there that I met, just great guys. So
Especially you already plugged into systems.
the other thing I like to do is inventions. So I always have, I like to think that I was in an entrepreneur group. And one of the things that stood out to me is about 70% of the people also had not graduated college in this entrepreneur group. There's something about not graduating college that drives people to want to be entrepreneur, to prove themselves or something. That stuck me, or they just are too ignorant to know any better. And so they're a little bit more risk, a little bit more open to taking risk. And ultimately, I think that there's something about just going out and getting started and then putting in the hard work and putting in the determination that you can build a successful company. Yeah, it's I forget where I was going with that actually, but yeah.
No, makes sense. Makes sense why college people make successful entrepreneurs. The pattern makes sense. Entrepreneur are people who break patterns and they don't like patterns. They have to go against, like create something out of thin air against conventional patterns. And vice versa, the people who go to college who are A students are people who confet, like they go to comfort, right? They're looking for comfort, they're looking for structure, they're looking for patterns. And one is, right within the tide, one's go up against the tide.
Yeah, and I think that if you go to college, you're told all these rules that you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have a business plan, right? You're supposed to have an investor. You're supposed to have all these things in place. It's difficult sometimes to get all that in place. And a lot of people, before they put all that together, they just take the more traditional, guaranteed income that a job provides. And
now my mind got distracted.
I know what I was talking about. I remember now. Sorry, I was talking about my invention. So I like to sit around. I got a buddy here. He's like a MacGyver, and he can do CAD drawings and he can create all sorts of cool. He did top secret drones for the military. And my neighbor was telling me about him, and I'm like, I got to meet this guy. And I met him, and we started a business. And so we just get together once a week right now. That's it. And we just talk about what would be cool. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you could create a drone that washes your car? Wouldn't it be cool if you had, a device that would help detect if your kid or your dog was sitting or someone's kid or dog was sitting in their hot car and it saved their life, right? And that was actually the first patent we did. Was we created a device that has, thermal sensors and a camera and 4G, 5G cards, GPS, accelerometers, all this crazy tech that can go into a car. The original idea was to save dogs, puppies, poor little puppies in cars, and babies' lives if someone forgot. And this happens all the time. Someone forgets their kid in the car, has a space one. Feels so horrible for those people because, their life is ruined practically. And, thank gosh it's never happened to me, but I could see how, especially if you're ADD, you start talking and 30 minutes goes by. Oh, that's right. I just walked into the store for a minute and I lost track and it's hot. And then your life is over, So that's a tragedy. So that was the first day, but then it's evolved. So we filed a patent for this device, but now we're actually thinking that it would be beneficial in fleet management or even in ride sharing or something along those lines. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. And then we did a couple other things with it we are working on, but that's just for fun, on the side, keep it all interesting.
This is like a weekly meeting in person?
It's sometimes in person, sometimes on camera, but he does live locally, so yeah.
Nice. Where do you live, Beau?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I used to be a California guy, and now I live in Sarasota, Florida, and I moved here a little over 2 years ago. And the hurricane season this year was no joke. This is not fun. But I do love it here regardless. If the season gets worse still, or we have another season like this next year, then I'm gonna start questioning my location again. But for now, even through this difficult season, I'm still holding strong here.
Tampa haven't been hit by major hurricane in 110 years, and it just got back to back.
I moved here in August of 2022. Is that right? Something like that.
Oh, so you experienced three already.
So 2 weeks after we got here, I was evacuated, and they were like, one of the reasons we picked this area was what you said. They're like, oh, there's an Indian sacred
Yeah.
spell, and they can't hit here. It ain't happening. Okay, great. Well,
Where's the Indian lady right now? Because the last 3 years she's been off.
it expired. I guess it had a 100-year cap on the spell.
9 out of last 10 hurricanes is Gulf. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. We don't even need to get into the conspiracies there. But
Yeah. Miami's now like the safest place in the US.
that's where I escaped multiple times actually from these hurricanes, including the last one. So,
Mm.
and it was fine.
So are you doing any outside collaborations? Are you investing these days? Because the company's running really well, right? You guys are profitable, continue to grow nonstop. Are you outside investor as well?
Yes, I do real estate investment, crypto investment. I am very actively interested in getting more involved in a new crypto project that I'm not going to drop any names right now, but it's like investing in Bitcoin before there was. It's actually like mining for Bitcoin before it even was available on the market. So I'm doing some interesting projects there, and then I'm looking to diversify as well. So yes, I do invest. I'm looking for some more brick and mortar, because we could talk about AI a little bit. I'm looking for some more brick and mortar investments, and starting to in businesses specifically that are brick and mortar. So I'm looking at maybe getting into the health space, and but I do
Senior care? In the senior care space?
no, not senior care. More like naturopathic preventative care for anybody, right? So it could be, as something like a B12 shot or stem cell or peptides, whatever, as well as, ice baths. I do ice baths pretty much every day. So yeah, that type of realm is what we've been talking about. And but yeah, so AI, my take on AI is these are interesting times to be alive, and I think that it is very enjoyable to play with and watch, and you can do some incredible things. I don't know how they're gonna answer this one question though, which is, let's say some people believe it's 10 years away, some people believe it's 5 years away. I think it's like 2 or 3 years away. But why not in 2 or 3 years you couldn't just tell AI, hey, build me a software just like Ricochet 360, and you know what? Have it also do X, Y, and Z, and also make it like this other company. Go ahead and just host it on Azure or AWS for me. 15 minutes later, here you go, and now you just pay the hosting fee. Thanks. There's my, all the hard work that all these companies, over a decade, and some of these companies, 20 years of building. It's challenging. So I don't know what happens when you get to where AI practices. I don't think it's that far away. So what happens to every software company out there, unless you have patent or unless you have some sort of tangible reason to stick to you that is unreplicatable? It's going to be an interesting thing. It's just the one use case I keep thinking about, and I don't understand how we get around it. Obviously, it's gonna, I don't want to use the word invade, but a lot of jobs are gonna go away. A lot of jobs, and what are these people gonna do? What are you gonna teach your kids? What should you be teaching your kids? I think a great opportunity would be create a consulting company for parents on what they should be teaching their kids to learn in the future. Because I'll tell you what, they don't need to learn how to code. They don't need to learn how to be a lawyer. They don't need to learn how to be a tax specialist. They don't need to learn how to, and with the robots coming from Optimus, I don't know how much longer a plumber has. So it's going to be real interesting. What do you think?
So Sunil is somebody I interview on this founder's journey show he started 6 companies. The 5th company he started got current valuation of $6 billion, and he already launched his 6th company. Him and I had a off the mic conversation on children, and he didn't want his kids being technology, even though he's technology, right? He want his kids, well, let me take that back. He want his kid to be in technology, but not doing technology or building technology, but just building companies. And, big part of that is the people who build technology are going to be AI.
Absolutely.
So, just the hard part is come up with ideas, a creative idea that will actually work in the real world. That's going to be the hardest challenge.
Yeah, well, I keep coming back to anything you can think of. If you create a website, right, and that website describes what it is, or anybody signs up and uses that software once, you're going to be able to tell the AI, and that costs, let's say it costs you $500 a month to use that software. Then you could just tell the AI, go ahead and build that for me and host it, and I'll pay the hosting fee. And it does the exact same thing. And you can have it done in 15 minutes. So what can you possibly create? Yes, it's going to take, you're going to have to combine your software with tangible real world activities that can't be replicated in the next 10 years by AI, including robots. It's going to take a long time to build all the robots. That's the one good news. So yes, maybe.
Would it?
Well, the robots are building the robots. So it's much faster. It never sleeps, right? Optimus is building more Optimus.
I mean, if we're talking about what is allowed in the US because of geopolitical tensions, right now, 7 of the top world fastest growing company are made in China. And at the end of the day, battery companies are drone companies are robot companies are EV companies. And, the 4th CEO drove one of the Xiaomi S7 SUV for 6 months. He brought it back from Shanghai. Tons of interview out there. He was like, how do we compete? So, as China is putting all these factories in Mexico, and they no longer look at US as the gateway into America continent, like Central America, South America, North America, right? They now look at Mexico as the gateway. I think we will see challenges coming from there that is going to challenge the entire space of drone EV robots. And the stuff that's coming out over there on the commercial application I have seen, it's scary.
Yeah, have you seen BYD, the new car? I mean, I don't know how new it is, but the China-made cars. I was in Brazil, and I got to sit in a few of these cars, and holy moly, the build is incredible, and the cost is unbelievable. Like they're buying them because Brazil has some of the highest tariffs of any country for electronics that you're to import there, because they want Brazilian-made, vehicles. It was a mind-blowing how this was like a Tesla, and it was less, like half the price, let's say, almost. So they're blocking them from entering in the US market. If it came into the US market, it would be trouble for all of the manufacturers. That's how good it is and how affordable it is. So that is definitely just one component, and you're right. It's really interesting, but we're also stifling competition.
And also, they have their own software program platform now. They've gone away from the Android and the iOS. It's Harmony OS now. They launched, and they have their own satellites to control them. So yeah, the next 10 years with the waves and waves of AI, it is going to be interesting to see how robots play a part in that.
Yeah. But we get to watch it go down, and not everybody can say that. So it's like I tell my daughters, I have 2 beautiful daughters. I tell them, it's you guys get to experience some of the I'll go in one other tangent here, which is we might be the first generation that ever was born that could live forever. Because I also believe that there's a very good chance that in our lifetime, we'll be able to have regenerative technologies in the medical world that would allow you to decide, how long you want to live. And that's interesting. But being able to experience the actual like Jetsons happening here, is an interesting thing. You know, it's probably better than living in a cave. So I don't know. Got to just enjoy it to the best of your abilities.
I mean, 23andMe already got sold, right? And all their
And
board
hacked.
members all quit the same day. And within the same week, all the board members for OpenAI quit the same week. It couldn't possibly be any coincidence or correlation, could it? Well, I'm so interested to see this episode and all the comment section what it turned into. Well, thanks for coming on and visiting our show. And I think I want to get you come on a couple more times in the future when we start, talk about industry voice. We have another show called Industry Voice and talk about trends and AI. I'm gonna get a couple other guys who are building cool AI stuff, and love to have you be a part of that panel discussion of talking about insurance AI trends.
That
And
sounds awesome.
I would love to have you come on after you release your next two phases of the AI features onto your platform. And maybe we can do a draft 5 to 6 months from now again and have you talk about your first initial draft.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll talk all about it. That'll be a better time for me
To
let
discuss
everybody know
more.
about it. Yeah, I don't want to get people too excited in any which way. So yeah, I
Well,
appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks so much.
we got a little teaser trailer going on, so the next episode is gonna be more amazing. And for you to get a chance to talk about the challenge that you run into. And I'm sure there's gonna be more, but you guys are gonna overcome it.
Yeah, we did. We did run into a lot of challenges in building out this AI. So we'll talk about that next time. Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.